Thank you for joining our Explore 19 webinar, Building a Master Global Form Template. This is Leslie Conduit, and I have with me Steve Luke from Eclipse Corporation. We decided to focus on 5 business challenges for the presentation today. First, converting your existing external documents. This is text-intensive documents that are provided to you from an external source, such as your compliance department or the government. Next, managing multilingual forms. For those of you who need to output multiple language documents because you operate your business internationally or you're legally obligated to provide documents in various languages for your recipients. Next, managing content variations. This is particularly beneficial for those of you who are OEMs, print service providers, or parent companies to manage contact information, logo variations, and even color schemes. Next, providing recipients with relevant marketing and messaging by allowing the messages to be data-driven, thus specific to your recipients. And lastly, managing similar forms and sections. For example, forms can share the same letterhead or signature block, and rather than building a unique template for each letter, build a universal template that accommodates all versions. We've broken down the challenges and identified features that were used to address the challenge as well as the benefits to this approach. We'll show you a demonstration of the solution after the presentation. The first is converting your existing external documents. The document stitching feature allows you to pull your external text-intensive documents that are provided to you from an external source, such as your compliance or government, and pull those documents into your output, thus eliminating the need for conversion. So here you can see is just a sampling of an insurance package that is a perfect candidate for a stitching method that allows you to pull in external PDFs into your document output. You can continue to generate complex dynamic forms such as the farm declarations along with your text-intensive documents. Information such as policy number, page count, and even barcode can be included in the external PDF pages within the white space of the page, such as the letterhead or footer. Next is managing multilingual documents. Whether you operate your business internationally or you're legally obligated to provide documents in multiple languages to your recipients, pulling the text from a profile translation file eliminates the need to support multiple language templates. In this example, the left document contains English only, and on the right document contains English and French language. This is accommodated by defining all of the form content as a field with a tag to insert content based on language. Then you create a document that contains the translations for all of those elements in your form. Note that this can include simple captions or even full text blocks such as body text. Then define a language key in your data to choose the appropriate language. Next is managing content variations. Using a profile file for the company is particularly beneficial for those of you who are OEMs, print service providers, or parent companies to manage content information. Similar to managing multiple languages, you can identify a profile file that inserts the appropriate language, signature, contact information, or even color scheme based on a company key value. The 2 examples shown were generated with the same form template. This approach can dramatically reduce the time and expense of onboarding new customers for OEMs and print service providers, as well as new company acquisitions for parent companies. Lastly, the profile file reduces maintenance costs since content updates are immediately achieved across all forms. Challenge number 4 is creating and managing relevant marketing and messaging. DocOrigin's add-on feature called Business Communication Center is a tool that provides a simple user interface that allows your marketing, HR, or legal department to create and manage campaigns, messaging, and legal terms and conditions without engaging IT. A study by InfoTrend showed that your transactional documents are read by 90% of your recipients, so they're ideal vehicles for communication. There are 3 types of white space we like to talk about. The first is fixed white space, and that's the static area of your form, such as your header, and this is perfect for general messaging such as upcoming events or general marketing. Next is creative white space, which actually shifts the content of your form to create white space for data-driven marketing and messaging. Perfect for upselling a service or add-on feature based on a recent purchase. Or insert messages for hazardous material being delivered. Lastly is lost white space, and this is the vertical white space left on your page at the bottom of your form. This is ideal for additional messaging. So here you can see the bottom of the form stops at the totals, and then the bottom of the container actually stops at the detach or tear off for the receipt. So there's lost white space here about an inch. So DocOrigin can automatically calculate that space and insert the appropriate image ad based on the space available. In this sample, the pages at the top show you a standard output from a cellular bill featuring charts that show color-coded overages. The sample pages at the bottom show the cell bill enhanced with Business Communication Center to upsell general ads for corporate accounts, automatic bill pay based on the payment patterns, unlimited data plans that avoid overages, or lastly, new device options based on the user's eligibility. BCC can also address critical targeted messages such as public relation messaging, discounts for insurance for safety equipment such as sprinklers or home security systems, or even encourage a mold insurance that has been declined. Here's a closer look at a data-driven message. On the left, you can see BCC inserted state regulation information regarding single coverage for applicants living in Florida. On the right, BCC inserted a message that the application was placed on hold until the roof was replaced since it was more than 30 years old. Also, I'd like to note that you can even insert field elements such as the inspection date so you can tell the recipient or the applicant how much time they have to replace their roof. In this healthcare history report, the form was set up to calculate body mass index and blood pressure categories, as well as color code content to highlight critical information for physicians and patients, or even build summary tables for historic evaluation for visually identifying health changes and/or progress. You can also power up with the Business Communication Center to automatically insert external information based on rules defined by the physician's entered data, such as product information, physician's information or recommendation, or even relevant handout material. Lastly is managing similar forms and sections. For example, forms can share letterhead or signature blocks, and rather than building a unique template for each letter, build a universal template that accommodates all versions. This reduces development and maintenance cost. In this example, our client had 38 different versions of a delivery receipt shown on the left. By converting the form into a dynamic design, we were able to cut the form into pieces, build a dynamic table with columns, and let the data define which appropriate option for the body text is inserted, and then lastly build a dynamic signature set. For frequently changing body text, you can go a step farther by maintaining the content in an external rich text. This gives your form owners even more control of the body text. IT simply has to send the desired text option in the data, and the form automatically pulls the associated rich text content into the form. As you can see, the design template, there's only one placeholder for the body. So here on the left, we have a one-page delivery receipt with only one policyholder signature area, and on the right, we have a two-page delivery receipt with all three signature areas. The body content and table area vary as well. Now let's go through a demonstration of all 5 business challenges and how we addressed each one. So the first item is we're going to just take a look at the original form that I showed you for the stitching method. So this is, actually I can start at page 1. This is a farm declaration along with some PDFs that were pulled into it. And if you scroll through here, this is 115 pages, and the beginning is a pretty complex dynamic form, which is pretty typical for insurance agencies. And then if I jump to page 21 and start scrolling, I have a text-intensive document. And as you can see on the top, we have policy number and even Eclipse Insurance Corporation and the packet page count in case it drops and you need to reassemble it, as well as the actual original PDF with the physical page count at the bottom. So I can scroll through here, and if I go fast enough, you can see there's other documents like common policy condition. So what we're going to do for the demonstration is this is a PDF created with original documents, and I'm just going to make some text changes of this document. So if I take this form, which is already opened up for me, I have the farm liability coverage form, and I'm going to go ahead and add some text to that. And so this is really just to demonstrate. Obviously, no one would put, demo text on here, but we're just really trying to show that this document, let's say, was updated and there were changes to it, right? And I could edit the text and so forth, but let's just go ahead and just do this. And we'll make this, brown, and then save this document. So now I have this document with text, and I can go ahead and close that out and save the information I just did. Then I'm going to run the document stitching merge, which is just emulating our product. And if I open this up, you can see, if I expand this out, that it created a new document. So it's October 9th, and here we can see 12/15. We create a new document. So if we go ahead and open this up, we should be able to see it opened up on my other screen. So I'm going to slide it over here and go to 2-page. We can see that it's still our document declaration. But if I scroll down to page 21, now we have our demo text. So you can see that the change was immediate. So of course, this is going to come from compliance, where you downloaded the new government document and you just put it in a placeholder or the spot where you maintain all of your PDFs. And the update would be immediate rather than converting this 26-page document, which can take up to a couple of weeks with back and forth quality assurance testing. Now we're going to go ahead to the next demonstration, which is multiple language documents. So here I'm in our tool called Business Communication Center, which is just giving a demonstration of a number of our items. So here I have a multiple language invoice. It's actually in 3 different languages, and I'm going to go ahead and do a preview. So I have 3 records here. The first one is English, the second one is French, and the third is Spanish. So here you can see that I have my Konica Minolta, and as I flip through, I'm going through all of our challenges in order, but a lot of them overlap. So I, of course, have some marketing in here, which is item number 4, and then I also am using my profile file, which is pulling in the Konica Minolta logo and the text there as well. And then here's my language, which is invoice date, invoice number, payment terms, and so forth. And if I scroll down, this is a 1-page document, 1 of 1. And here I've changed not only the logo, but also it's converted to a French document. So all the captions are in French, the titles are in French, and so forth. And if I scroll past this 2-page document, you can notice that the color codes are changing based on Star Corporation. And then we have Reach document, which is in Spanish. So this is all built on one single template, and we have a profile language file that's keying, and we're just sending a code to say English or French or Spanish, and it's automatically updating the entire form captions and content based on that language key, as well as simultaneously updating the company information. Next, we're going to go back to here, and we're going to go to content information, which is varies and is specifically targeted for OEMs, print service providers, and parent companies. We're going to look at a credit union. We'll do a preview here. It's just like we have the Konica Minolta, Star, and Reach, we have an Eclipse credit union, and we can see here we have our blue headers and so forth. And again, we're still showing that we have some marketing information that's, because they're on free checking, we're promoting maybe opening a high school checking account. So this is actually a combination of an image and rich text that's being pulled in by an external BCC communications, which also could be done in DocOrigin if you were to code that. And it has some embedded fields like Eclipse credit union and so forth. And then if I scroll down to the next record, which is actually on page 6, you can see now we have DocOrigin credit union. And what I'm going to show you right now is I'm going to go to my second screen, which is over to the left, because this is set up on our web service. And I'm going to go ahead and change. So let's say that this is actually a credit union or a parent company that owns DocOrigin Credit Union and Eclipse Credit Union, and they're all on 122 Southeast 47th Street. And let's say they moved and they're growing and they moved to a different building. I'm going to go ahead and replace all of the text in my profile file and save it. And then I'm going to rerun this, and you'll see that this address changes immediately. So if I rerun it, I've gone ahead and saved on our web service the new information, and now we're automatically updating our 1000 Lakeview Drive. So for the years that we've been in business, for 30 years, and I actually started in a plan, you'd see often that companies would move buildings and have to obsolete their entire inventory of their forms or a phone number change or something like that. So this is if everything points to this profile file, then any form that's looking at this profile file will be immediately updated the day that you move into your new building. And then you can see if I scroll down, same with this, this has changed as well. Let me shrink that. And now we're going to go into our marketing messages. So this is a telecommunication form. This is one of our OEMs. And they actually provide software for companies that operate in Asia under different names. So unlike US, which has Sprint, Verizon, AT&T, and a handful of large cell phone companies, this company actually sells their software to different cell phone companies. So you can imagine this would be really helpful for managing an external profile file as well as some marketing messages. So we're going to show both here. So I'm going to show the thumbnail over here, which shows the different pages, because this is actually a data file for a corporation, which all the phone numbers and information has changed, but I've kept the content pretty much the same. So on this first page, if I scroll down here, you have a fixed white space ad, and this is definitely geared towards a corporate because in their data they have an is corporate element, which is in this case yes, and then you can see they have a sales force here. Maybe are they ready to hit the ground running, and do they have the proper tools? So we're marketing them to see if they might want to add phones or what have you. And then here, this is a history of their payment methods, and you can see they pay by check and cash and manual called-in credit cards. So really we want to encourage them to move to an automatic bill pay, so automatically debiting their checking account or their credit card. Now if I scroll to page 4, this is actually targeting an ad based on the fact that this was an invoice date in April, and April is their rainy season, and often people take vacation during their rainy season, just as we do in March and April when it's rainy season in the U.S. And we're saying, hey, you might be traveling during April, and just to remind you, you might want to consider turning on an unlimited $30 international plan. Now if I continue to scroll down, we have your typical phone number with your plans, and here it shows in color codes according to reach your planning calls that you've gone over, your minutes and your texts. So we're just noting to this client or this phone number that they have gone over, and they might want to consider the $20 a month unlimited voice and text. And again, keeping in mind this is all targeted for corporations. So here it's just a generic unlimited plan, and then if I scroll to this one, they've gone over by minutes only, so we have a business person on the phone asking if they want to maybe upgrade to a $10 unlimited plan. So what I'm going to do is Business Communication Center, as a developer, often I don't have enough data to test every element and every rule in my data, so I need to mock up my XML. So in this case, I'm going to actually change it right here on the fly. So I'm going to change the invoice date to September. I'm going to change my payment method to automatic credit card. And then I'm going to say is corporate. I'm going to say no. So you'll see that not only do we have new ads, but all of the ads change in its look and feel. So if I run my preview again, you'll see here that I have a family plan. Your family is growing in this case, and maybe you have a daughter and she's ready to have her own phone and she doesn't have to use her mother's anymore. And then if I scroll down to page 2, I've overridden this with my automatic credit card payment, so I no longer need to encourage this client to go to the automatic version. And then if I jump here, we made it September, so I'm no longer getting my April ad. I'm getting my Are You a Gearhead ad, because September is when iPhones are released and all the other gadgets are released, ready for the school and Christmas season. And then, of course, if I scroll down here, I don't have a business person worried about overages or getting in trouble from their boss, and here I have my overages with teenagers on the phone pasting Facebook posts, and of course a teenager on the phone. So everything is changing based on the fact that the overages are the same, but now I'm targeting towards a family. So that's our marketing messages and upsells. And I also want to jump to, I believe, page 16, but I'll just flip through here. That again, I still want to identify that we're changing our color schemes and our logos based on the company code. So here are my lines and my text, and anything I want can change. And even the foot information, including the website and contact information and so forth. And even if I scroll down, I'm even changing my charts based on those color schemes. So pretty neat that you wouldn't have to, as an OEM provider, customize every customer that's coming on board, but rather give them a template and give them a profile file where they can update their phone numbers and so forth, and it's automatically pulled in and immediately looks like their company colors. Last, or number 4 at least, might be last, is we're going to target messaging. So when we talk about pulling in messaging externally, we always talk about, often about marketing and upselling, but messaging can even be critical information messaging, such as charity events that your company might be working with and critical information. So in this case, we have an insurance application, and I'm actually going to jump quite a bit because this one has a lot of pages, and I'll scroll a little bit in the beginning. Like here you can see that they have a security system and fire protection, but they might want to consider sprinkler system might be recommended because that would add additional discounts. Now if I jump to page 6, and we saw this in the presentation, here I have, because I am a Florida resident, if I showed you in page 1, it's automatically bringing in that state regulation that says that this insurance company must offer to their client sinkhole coverage because they live in the state of Florida. So this being part of the application can assure that you've proven that you've showed the customer, and if they decline it, that is up to them. Then if I scroll down farther, we're going to jump to page 16. This is a change of our DocOrigin. So we've changed the PR campaign as well as the look and feel of the form. And here I'm showing some mold coverage that's been declined, just talking about how mold is just not only a smelly issue, but actually it can impact your health as well. And then if we go to this page, you can see that their year the roof was built or last updated was 1990 or before. So we're not only bringing attention by bringing an image in here, but we're combining it with rich text as well. So being safe is not only mean keeping a roof over your head, but keeping a solid watertight roof over your head. So we're immediately telling them and highlighting in red that their form application has been placed on hold pending the update and replacement of their roof. And then we talk about the inspection date, and they have 30 days from the 13th, so when they're receiving this document, to fix their roof or their application will be declined. I think I have a couple more. Here's an electrical one. And then also, if you can see here, we have these little ads, which are kind of generic, but talking about how you can take advantage of the white space or lost white space at the bottom of each page. So now if you notice, but there's been different little white space ads throughout the document. And there's another one. This is just an opportunity for any general messaging, or it can be specific as well. So now I'm going to look at my time, and I do have time to show the last item, which is the stitching method. So I'm going to close this out or minimize this, and I'm going to go ahead and go to this form. So this is the form that we talked about that we have a delivery receipt. So this is actually the whole delivery receipt. If I back up, this was actually 38 different documents, and this area was hard-coded. So if they had a longer table version, they actually had a different form, and they had information, and they had different combinations of the signature. And then the main thing that changed was this body text. So we could either, in one of the slides I showed, that they can physically have different body text within this design template, or they can just have a placeholder for that rich text, and that text would just be pulled in automatically. So if I reduce this and I go ahead and open, I have 2 little guys open here. These are just 2 different samples of rich text, and it starts with their letters, and the letters are really similar. So I highlighted some in red and blue, highlighted policy, and then I actually added some Lauren Ipsum so you can see the dramatic changes, and then we have some embedded text. So I'm going to first run this as is, and it's pulling in this live content. So if I go ahead and hit PDF preview, I'm going to slide this over again. This is a 4 record document, so we're pulling up 4 different versions of the form. So this is a 1-page document. Here you see with an uppercase paragraph, all Lauren Ipsum, and then we have 1 signature block. And then here my table is growing, so of course my policy delivery receipt header and content moves as well. And then I overflow to page 2, and now I have a 2 signature block area for policy owner and proposed insured. And then in this case we have 2 different pages as well with red text and some bulleted text. And then we have the final last page, and these both have 3 signature blocks. So again, imagining that, we talked about your form owner owns the body of the text, and sometimes this one specifically, the customer said, this is one of the forms that changes often. So we encourage them to use rich text so that the form owner can own the text. I'll go ahead and close this. and they just have to build that template and that placeholder. So I'm just going to put in, and hopefully I'm a terrible typer, but we're going to add, demo text, inserted for immediate change. Okay, and I actually did a second ago. So now I'm going to go ahead and save this. So we have this red demo text. Of course, imagine that they've actually made some changes to maybe the added bullet items or more paragraphs or whatever they wanted to add to this document. And this is one of the records that I'm pulling that in. And I'll shrink this and go back to my design. And I'm going to rerun this, and that change will be immediate. And it's, again, going to go to my secondary screen. And then if I view this as 2 pages, you'll see on that document, here is my demo text. So really we talk about the theme that we've been moving and talking to our clients about is thinking outside of the box, theoretically and literally. So we're trying to say anything that changes often, like phone numbers and rich text, body text. One, consolidate your forms. Whenever the template is similar enough, make it a single template and pull in those external variables that change often, like logos and so forth. So it helps, not only OEMs, but even customers that, are one single company and they only have one logo, they could change their phone number immediately. That would be pulled up, and they could pull in their new text, and immediate changes would happen as soon as they updated and saved that RTF file or that profile file or added a new language. They can just add, in one of the cases, we added Italian for one of our customers. And that is actually it. So I think we can open up for changes, or maybe Steve wants to chime in on any of the items, and I can open up anything up.
Leslie, before someone asks a question, I wanted to mention that I'm not sure if anyone noticed in that last demonstration that some of the rich text files that you were pulling in actually had dynamic fields in them. So the rich text paragraph may have a field name in it, and the actual data for the current document / current pay, or customer, etc., is all being pulled in there. So the RTF files can, in fact, be very dynamic as well.
Yeah, there you go. So it's the policy number. I should zoom in here as well. Just go like that. So there's the policy information.
So that was my only comment. I won't say the only one, but the one for now.
Only comment for now. And then also, I know I flipped through this obviously pretty rapidly, but this form change that, I don't know if it's the original, but this one also, the stitching method, as long as you're stitching, stitching method actually becomes basically an overlay of your existing PDF and becomes part of your template, and you can output actually to PCL as well. A lot of customers ask that. What I wanted to note is that if I zoom in here a bit, you can add anything you want as long as it's in the white space areas. So these documents are individual. So you might have one document that has only white space on the bottom or the top. So you can put anything you want inside this PDF, because this is really a costly item for a lot of companies that are regulated and get new information. I know I worked, on a number. I worked with workers' compensation. Every January, they had 3 weeks to update all of the government-provided PDFs within 3 weeks, or they were fined an exponential amount of money per day. So they can immediately just download those forms, those PDFs from the government, and they can convert them or never convert them, and just add, their information at the top so that we know, again, if this form falls, we know this is for policy number, what have you. And I just added a packet number count just for fun. But it's good to see that is available, that you can add content to it as well. A lot of times they add barcodes at the bottom for printing and inserting and so forth.
Okay. Are we going to open up for questions now, Leslie? Or?
Yeah.
I do have a few questions that came in. The first one was, what are the most common reasons companies have not been using master templates?
I'll take that one, Leslie. I think the number one reason is because a lot of the legacy composition engines and tools that have been out there really aren't capable or haven't been capable, and they've never been updated to provide the kind of flexibility and capabilities available in composition tools of today. We've seen over the years, composition engines that could handle multilingual and things like that, but being able to pull in complete PDF files and insert them in exactly the right place and overlay page numbers and things like that, those type of things haven't been available. And in addition to that, one of the things you probably noticed is when we were showing things like multiple telephone bills from multiple companies, one of our customers actually is a software company. They provide software to telcos, that so many different telephone companies are using their software, but they don't have to go and design an independent, unique form for them. They give them a template, and that template dynamically pulls in their company colors, their company logo, their legal terms and conditions. So if they've got special terms and conditions, one of that same customer, by the way, every island in the Caribbean uses their software. So every one of those companies is using a single batch of, single group of templates, and yet everything is personalized and for that particular customer. So technology was really the number one reason. And if you've been in the business as long as I have, you know that a lot of companies with legacy applications are still using a product that's 15 years old, 20 years old, at least 6 or 10 years old, without a doubt. And so the technology just wasn't there in the past, and that's one of the reasons that we decided that we really needed to create more dynamic. We've got one customer that serves, an OEM that serves more than 3,000 city and county governments. They provide one set of templates to run all those city, counties, and governments. And they even offer a GUI tool to let the customer customize some of the things they want to customize in the form.
Okay. Another question. You mentioned the master template was great for large enterprise global companies and for OEM software companies. Can you describe how commercial print service providers use it?
Sure, I'll grab that one, Leslie. That's actually an interesting question in that, some of our print service providers are actually serving the same, basically 40, 50, 60 credit unions or community banks. And those community banks or credit unions, many of them are using the same core software. So they may buy the software that's running their credit union may be the same for, say, 40 or so of their customers, and maybe another 20 of their customers are using a different core product. But the core raw data that's being generated, that's being used to merge in with the final document templates is pretty much the same. The layout is all laid out the same. We know where the phone number is. We know where the address is. We know this and that. We know what the company ID is. So with a master template, one of our customers, as I mentioned, is literally serving over 40 customers with a single template. They're getting nothing but raw data from the customer, and they're being able to brand and customize. When they bring on a new customer, it only takes them about 2 hours.
Okay. I've got a few more here. You mentioned you can pull in any content, including body text. Would that text support rich text formatting such as bolding, color, font, size, etc.?
Leslie, you want to take that one? You want me to?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so actually, great. So I will actually bring it up. In our credit union form, that's a good example. Let me see if that's here. I'm actually going to search. The credit union form has rich text in it as well as images. So right here we have, this is all rich text, and if I actually show you in the GUI interface, it's just an RTF file that I can import, or actually lets me modify it directly in the Business Communication Center tool. And then you can import images as well as tabbing and bulleted items and even embedded fields like we were showing you in the date field. So yeah, definitely you can support both embedded fields as well as rich text and font sizes and so forth. Yep.
Okay, another question. Why would someone need to have more than one brand logo and/or colors in a template? Wouldn't they all use the company colors?
Actually, I'll take that one, Leslie. We have one company that actually has acquired through time at least 10 other companies. They are still using. They're now using a common core ERP system. But they decided for different strategic reasons, because of brands already being recognized, brands already being used, and things like that that were valuable. And that's where maybe they bought a company, they want to expand that company, but they don't see a value in changing the company name. they do have that common core ERP system, and because of that, the data that they're generating is effectively the same, can be picked up by a single template, and then we can dynamically put those logos, colors, and things like that to give them that unique brand they've always had. So that's one of the reasons. And then, of course, the print service providers we more or less mentioned a minute ago, you've got the ability for them to provide many different credit unions or many different banks without having to create a brand new template. Does that answer your question, I guess?
I guess so. I didn't ask it. I'm just reading the question. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, hopefully it will. If it doesn't, then they have the opportunity to contact you directly for some additional clarification. So
okay, excellent.
Okay, I've got two more here. Could you embed data in your body text, such as deadline dates or recipient name?
Yeah, absolutely.
When would you want to contain text content within the template?
I'll take this one. Yeah. So I work primarily with designers, and often I've gone on site for anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. And that typically is based on the comfort of the designer. There's two reasons really. And actually I'm going to go ahead and open up this template. I'm going to slide it into the one that we showed you, the rich text document. The designers were definitely visual, and they liked to be able to see the layout and the wrapping of their text right away. So this is the same exact form set up with the physical headers and footers and so forth. And this was once the form LP17, 1PIB, right? So they would like to see it, although I can pull this in with rich text, they like to see how it lays out, and you can actually just go ahead and collapse. I'm showing them all, but they can go ahead and collapse and hide the other ones to see how that one would look by itself, right? And it's just more of a comfort thing. And the other reason would be sometimes forms are very regulatory and they have to match things exactly. So of course, if I'm pulling in text and variable text, then I can't guarantee that the word with wraps right here. And some companies want to match what we call light table matching. So those are the cases where they can still build a unique and single template, but they're leaving the text not in an external text file, but rather embedded as part of the form. So that would probably be the main reasons I see people not moving towards external methods for that content.
Okay. Well, I don't see any more questions here, so why don't we go ahead and wrap up. Leslie, Steve, do either of you have any closing thoughts?
Okay, I'd like to thank everyone that has attended today. I'd like to open up an opportunity for anyone who has questions to send those questions to us. Anyone who like to dig deeper into this and the capabilities, we're definitely here to try to help you and answer your questions. We do have clients in virtually every major industry that you can think of, and not just print service providers. We have Fortune 10 customers all the way down to a hospital with 24 beds. So it's something that we'd love to talk to you about if you do have technical questions or just simply questions, can you do this? So that's all I have to say. Thank you, everyone.
Well, I enjoyed the webinar. That concludes today's webinar. I want to thank Leslie and Steve for sharing today, and Eclipse Corporation for sponsoring the event. Once again, thank you, everybody. We will now disconnect.